Perfect. Shows this on YouTube and Facebook. So just give me 1 second before we get started. Okay, almost done. And for those of you that start tuning in, you know I always take a second to get started, so be sure that you give me that thumbs up. Let me know you can see us and hear us fine. And I also like to give you a shout out for spending the morning with us. So as you tune in, comment with me. Nonprofit. Excellent. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Good morning to everybody. And thank you so much for hopping on and tuning into our Thursday broadcast. I am your host, Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And I'm pleased to continue to bring to you these videos to educate you about things that are going on in our community, organizations and businesses that are around and are there for your support and are providing support to the community at large. So as many of you are aware, if you are coming back to me, which several of you are, I see our current chairman, Brian Dice, and our board director, Wayne Anderson, and those of you that continue to hop on, if you're returning, thank you so much for returning. Please make sure that you're hitting that share button so that this message gets out to everybody and that everyone is aware of the resources that are available in our community and around the state. For those of you that may be newcomers, I would like to see you come back to us in the future. So make sure that you hit that like button, the follow button, so you can get those timely alerts when we post content or go live. And of course, know that this is available to you on YouTube at the same time that it's being streamed on Facebook. At any point in time, if you're not able to tune in, if you have a conflict, you can always rewatch this in the video section of our page. You can also find it on our COVID Resource Hub page, and that's westminsterchamber.biz/COVID-19-updates. And no, I did not come up with this long string. It generated that whenever we input it into the website. So most of you have already familiarized yourselves with the comment section. I'll start pulling up comments as I explain this a little bit further. But generally, when our speakers are providing information or telling us about things that are in their wheelhouse, we want dialogue. We want to encourage kind of that informal communication and interactiveness. To do that, we rely on you, our viewer. And so we ask you to place into the comment section any compliments. You know, I always say compliments are like water. You can never have enough. Give us kudos if you pick something up and you think it's beneficial. Let us know what it was that you picked up. But more importantly, if you have questions and you want those questions answered, whether it's about the organization, our speakers, or other items that they have shared with us, make sure that you comment it into the comment section just below the video so that we can take it up at the end or at the end of their presentation. So good morning to Wayne. Good morning, of course, to our board chair, Brian Dice. And he is telling you, Rich, that you need to smile more. So, I tell you, my viewers are not shy in telling people what to do.
All right.
Today is our nonprofit corner. For those of you that have been tuning in with us, we've been doing this for nearly a month and a half, where on Thursday, we actually highlight a nonprofit either in, around, servicing, or just someone that's invested and plugged into our community. That being the case with the guest that we have with us today, the Romito Foundation's Executive Director, Amy Smith. Those of you who know Amy know her through numerous hats that she wears in the community, not just with the foundation. She's also a business owner, a female entrepreneur that's supported her family-owned business for quite some time. She's a mother, a wife, a grandmother, and caregiver, and so much more. I can't say enough about her. And then we have Rich with us. Rich is the president of the board for the Romito Foundation. So both of them will kind of explain what the organization is, how they were affected by COVID, and then some things that are coming up. But I want you to be sure that you are engaged with us. So make sure that you're commenting, you're providing us questions, so that it's not just me asking them the 50 questions, which you know I will. They like to hear from people other than me, believe it or not. So I'll mute myself and I'll allow you to take it over and start sharing with us what you would like to.
All right, my name is Richard Romito from the Romito Foundation. I want to first say, Juliet, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate this and have the opportunity to get our story out, what's going on and how we're handling it through COVID-19. First of all, the Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a progressive muscle weakness. There's no treatment and there's no cure at this time. And I have 3 boys with that disease, and we're just doing our best to provide the best quality life we can. And while doing our children, we're also taking care of roughly 40 families here in Colorado that are looking for help also. And we're trying to do everything we can to provide them a service to keep their quality of life going. And it's been a little struggle here with COVID-19. We're not able to get them out and about because the boys are at a higher risk due to their health conditions. And we're just trying to look at new avenues and new ways that we can provide a service for them and keep them happy and engaged.
I am Amy Smith. I'm the executive director of the Romito Foundation. I've been the executive director for about 8 years now. Me and my family are all just blessed to be part of this organization. We met Rich by chance. We say it's a God thing, and have absolutely been blessed by our warriors. We do call our DMD guys warriors, and blessed by the families that we've been able to know. Rich and his wife founded this foundation, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about that story. But we're again, dealing with COVID, as are all nonprofits, and we are very happy to be part of the other nonprofits as well and promoting them, knowing that we're all in this together. We're all struggling to try to make a difference in the world and to try to help those that need us the most. And our warriors and our families deserve all of our time and effort. Rich, if you want to tell them about how you and Jamie founded the foundation.
So again, like we said, we had 3. We had Dominic was diagnosed first, and then Colin and Caleb came along, and all 3 of the boys were diagnosed. And what we learned in the very beginning was, obviously we all want a treatment, but they've been trying for a long time. And we would talk to other families and find out what are the kids wanting now? What are the families wanting now? And their biggest thing they kept saying is quality of life. Although we all want a treatment, it's been so long, they haven't found anything yet. And why can't we just do something for the boys to here today now to improve their quality of life? And that's where the organization started. My wife and I said, well, let's start a camp. So I started out providing a camp for these boys. As the older boys, when they turn 18, were no longer allowed to go to a camp. And that's where we started, is providing a camp service. Every summer, the boys get to go to camp, and they all got to come together and be as one. And they felt equally. No one was looking at them, staring at them, and they didn't feel unwanted at the camp. They've all felt connected. They understood each other's pains and sufferings and what was going on. And as we evolved, we found out that it wasn't just the kids that needed that community. The mothers needed it. The fathers needed it. And I'll just be honest, the fathers needed it more than the women. Women, they tend to flock together a lot better and be able to share their stories. Whereas men, we're hard head. We're too tough, and we can't show our emotions, and we hold everything in, and then it explodes and things go south. So this is a way to get the dads to come together and we'd be able to share. Now we can talk and get things off our chest and talk about how we wish that we could go out and throw a ball with our sons, or throw a football, or do something like that as a dad with a son want to do. And you're not able to do that, unfortunately. And some kids progress faster than others, and some can walk a little bit longer than others. So you can do little things, but sports, the boys weren't able to do. So some dads, kind of fell towards the wayside and just couldn't handle it and go to work all day and work extra shifts and put a lot of the pressure on the mothers. And we saw that as we got in and started evolving, and we had to figure out a way to bring the families back together. And I think we're doing a good job, and we're just getting stronger. And it's people like you out there that's helped us, you know, that's provided services, that's provided finances, and we've been able to help these families and bring them together, and we've made them stronger, and we've all gotten stronger. We all have someone we can call to if we're having a bad day or having a bad moment, or we watch our kids, they're walking and then they stop walking and it's a bad day. Call those that know us. Caleb, my youngest one, he just stopped walking 2 months ago during COVID. It's been very hard for us, and my wife, you know, obviously she's the one doing it while I'm at work, and it's been hard on us. And we've been able to reach out to others and talk to them and help each other along with it. As they say, you know, you've got three, and we only had one, so we're sorry you had to do this 3 times. And you know, it is what it is, and we just move on and we get stronger from it, you know. And that's the big thing with the Romito Foundation is although we want a treatment and we want a cure for our children, we have three. We also understand that we just can't sit back and stay at home and make them be bedridden and just not be afraid to go out and adventure and find things to do and find creativities for these boys and these families. So the foundation now is just a big family community to help them with taking them out to sporting events, which we all know that's not going to happen right now. And so we're looking at other avenues. We still have the hunting. We're still looking to see if we can plan the turkey, the deer harvest this October. We may not be able to do it, but we are working and putting some plans and stuff to make the boys safe and the volunteers to be safe. And if we think we come up with a plan and everybody agrees to it, then we're going to move forward. If we can't, well, then we'll just have to wait till next year. But in the meantime, we're still able to help these families with home modifications and other things they need that aren't provided for them, you know, through another service. And all they look to us. So although COVID's here and we're not able to be out amongst people, we still need your support. And we can't do this without you. This is a community effort to keep these boys and their families together and keep them strong and keep them mentally strong.
Thanks, Rich. That was great. Yeah, and like Rich said, you know, we're a team here. We're all family. I'm blessed that I have 5 healthy grandchildren, and but my kids and my grandchildren are still part of the Romito Foundation. My grandkids ride on the wheelchairs. All the warriors know them. And we're just one big family, all supporting our community and our DMD kiddos. So like Rich said, we do sporting activities, which have, of course, been put on hold. But even social gatherings, we've kept our kiddos connected. They have gone hunting. They are able to shoot. We've combined with an organization called SYC that has been a huge blessing and has allowed our guys to actually have retrofit guns that they can shoot skeet and things like that. And again, the whole point is to let them experience as much of life as we possibly can. And this was really an avenue that was missing prior to the Romito Foundation. So there have been so many families blessed by this organization. But of course, in the end, that all takes funding. So with the COVID situation being what it is, that's affected us. We did have a disc golf tournament a few weeks back. Thank you to Dr. Russ Birdsall to help us with that. And typically we have a cornhole tournament here at Scudder Press. We were unable to do that due to distancing. And so we've pivoted to a Top Golf tournament, which will be held August 29th. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about that, and then we'll Top Golf in Thornton on August 29th. We do still have some tickets available. If you go to romitofoundation.org, there's a place for you to link to the registration site. Player tickets are $85. It includes 3 hours of Top Golf, as well as lunch and soft drinks. We're having a big silent auction. We have a week in South Padre Island in the auction. We have a signed Mark Jackson football. We have hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards to Hapa Sushi, Uncorked, all from just blessings from the community around us that have helped us with our silent auction items. If this isn't something that you're interested in, or you don't like to golf or whatever, you can always go to romitofoundation.org and click on our donate button. We're always thankful for anything that we receive, and all of our funds are, you know, just it's very expensive for us to do some of these events with our guys. We have a licensed chaperone that goes with each one of them because many of them can't hold a drink. they can't go to the restroom. And we have chaperones that are helping them one-on-one in their chairs to make sure that all their needs are met and that they can have the most enjoyable experience that they can when we're doing sporting events or social gatherings. So it can sometimes be upwards of 50 people that might be attending an event. Well, you multiply that times the number of entrance fees, and our events are quite expensive. We would also love to have large organizations that might consider sponsoring us as a foundation that might, that maybe they know someone who's had DMD, maybe they had a family member and they understand the challenges that our families are going through and are willing to maybe step up as a long-term partner for this foundation and being able to provide services for our families and our warriors. So we're always looking to partner with people in our community that understand the need and understand what our families are going through and our guys. So you can always reach out to me or Rich. All of our information is at romitofoundation.org. And again, the Topgolf tournament, we're excited for that. We still have some base sponsorships available at $250. You can reach me at amy@scudderpress.com. You can call Rich at 303-718-2538. Reach out to us any way that you can help is much appreciated. But we're here for the long term. We're not going anywhere. Our warriors and their families are going to have the foundation around supporting them and helping them for many years to come. And unfortunately, we get new members every year. And that is due to the fact that there is no treatment and no cure. And DMD, unfortunately, is not going anywhere anytime soon. And so please consider reaching out and helping the foundation in any way that you can. And Rich, I'll just let you tell a little bit more about what maybe a day in the life looks like in a DMD household.
I can tell you right now, with COVID, it puts a lot of pressure on the families, getting the schools and the computers ready up and running, getting them out of bed a little earlier, getting them dressed and fed and their pills taken. So it's a little extra work. At school, some of these kids have parents, so that the school days is almost, it sounds horrible, but let's be honest here, is a rest day, a respite time for their mothers that are stay home, or the fathers that are stay home. It's a rest time when the kids can go to school for 4 or 6 hours and give them that rest time so they can gather their own thoughts and take care of themselves, whether it's exercise, reading a book, just taking some quiet time. It's good for them. Now with COVID, it's a little different. Now you got them all here, sitting here like me right now. We got Dominic graduated last year, so that was awesome. And he got to go across, so that was really cool to see that. And he got to, even with COVID, he had to go across the stage. Graduation wasn't until the middle of July, but it was still a big accomplishment for him, and he was very happy to be able to go across the stage, and we were too as a family. Now she's got Colin and Caleb up there one's in the room, one's in the kitchen, and she's going back and forth, making sure they're doing their work, so they don't get sidetracked, So, but it's a little extra work now with them being home, because now it's doing everything again. It's like summer, the summer that never ends.
So it is, again, just a challenge for our families, and they're all so strong. And that's the other thing that camp provides, and some of these events that we do. We actually do not require that our parents come to these sporting events, because we do have our chaperones and our volunteers, because that may be the only date night they're going to get in 6 months. So we encourage our parents to come if it's important to them to be at an event, or if it's something they particularly like. But we also make sure that they have the option, except for Rich and Jamie, which is always a challenge, because since we're working in the foundation together, it's hard for them to not be at events. But we do allow our parents to go out for a date night on those dates. And when it's camp week, we have a lot of parents that will travel out of the state and, take 3 or 4 days to themselves. And it may be the only time all year that they get that. And the rest of us kind of take that for granted, that we have time, as a couple. So it's certainly challenging to be a parent, but it's also challenging in a marriage when you have really so many people tugging at needing you, and it's hard for you to provide the needs for your spouse. So it's a whole big picture that comes along with this and any other debilitating disease that children can have. And so we try to just be there as a huge support system and cheerleaders, and try to tell our parents we're here for them, and we're here to do whatever it takes to make our warriors' lives the best lives possible. Our mission statement is to improve the treatment and quality of life of those living with DMD. And we do, adhere to that every day and do the very best that we can to see that happens. And it, of course, takes money, and it takes effort and community involvement. And we keep asking for those blessings from all of you out there.
Well, thank you so much, Amy and Rich. I see Rolla that has come on, and a couple other people. For those of you that are tuning in, make sure that you comment or give me a thumbs up. That's my key way of finding out who you are, and I can give you that shout out that you deserve. We have with us both the executive director, Amy Smith, and the founder / president of the board, Rich Romito. Romito Foundation is the nonprofit organization that's focused on for sure, it's DMD, which I'm glad there's an acronym for it, because it could be a mouthful for anyone that does not know. But I've written it out over here, and it's a foundation that focuses primarily on Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I've also captured as much as I can as it relates to what you all do, from the camps that you offer to the events and the social gatherings that you've put into play to kind of help socialize those kids. Now, I haven't seen a question yet, but I always pepper these in. Good morning to you, Parker. I see you hopping on here with me. I see a reference, and you do this a lot, Rich, is that these guys are coming together, these boys are coming together, and one would assume that this is something that just affects boys. Can you go in a little bit more detail on why that is? I know the answer, but I want the viewers to understand it.
It's a good question, and I'm sorry I overlooked that. So it comes from the X chromosome, a double X chromosome, and it's passed through the mothers. So predominantly it is the males. It affects the males. There is few females that are affected by Duchenne muscular dystrophy, but most of the females are just carriers. The mothers are carriers, and you don't know until you have a child or you go get tested for it, because you find it in your family, somewhere down your family line. Then you can get tested and see if you're a carrier. Like Jamie has two other sisters. They've both been tested, and they're not carriers. Jamie's the carrier in her family. So it came out of nowhere. She's actually the first down her family line that they can find that's had this chromosome that's passed. But then again, it doesn't always happen, because the oldest son, Nick, he doesn't have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. My next three do. And they tell you got a 50-50 shot. So I'm batting pretty well if we're playing baseball.
I love that analogy, and thank you so much for going in detail and explaining that a little bit more. I do have a follow-up as it relates to your son. I'll ask that here in a little bit. We did get a comment that came through, comment/question. This comes to us from Parker. Parker, for those of you that already don't know, or for those of you that don't know, Parker is invested in our organization, but is also a strong supporter of the Westminster community. He supports a lot of nonprofits, the police department, various organizations that are around. And so he actually employs somebody that suffers from this condition. And so he's asking you, as it relates to another organization that's out there, if you work with PPMD.
And the answer is yes. I'm very familiar with Pat Furlong with PPMD. We met 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and we've worked together, and we do stuff. Yes, I am familiar with Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. That's how we find out. When you go to Children's and your children get diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, they tell you there's organizations out there like DMD, MDA, Parent Project, and then once we started our nonprofit here in Colorado, they do tell them about us. They tell them about PPMD. That's where you get a lot of good information. They're a very large organization. So yes, that's where you start out at, and then the families just filter around wherever they feel comfortable, what organization they feel comfortable, and then we encourage them to use everybody, use all the resources from all the nonprofits. It's just not one's better than the other. We're just all together in it together to save lives and find a treatment and a cure and to provide quality of life. PPMD does it on a huger scale. They're much larger, and unfortunately, Pat has lost both of her children to DMD, and she continues to work hard for this community. And she's on a much larger scale. I'm the little guy in the neighborhood, where she's out there in the world. I'm just like the little guy on the block, and it doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are, as long as I'm working hard for these kids, my kids, and these other kids here in Colorado, then I'm doing my job. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I can for these boys and these families, because that's what's most important. And with us here being local, the local families here, they're able to put, to get to know us better and a little bit closer. PP&D does great things, and all we are is just small. We're just like the brother next door, type deal.
Well, any work is significant work, I always say, and we can't do everything. That's the point of having a variety of organizations, and we're an example of that as a chamber. We're not going to put our hands into every single thing, but we can partner with people that have that specialty, that can get stuff done, that serve our organization mission, where we can collaborate, whether that's on a more grassroots, localized level. Hey, we're touching them directly on that. So I'm glad that you showed that synergy that's there. This question actually led to another question. I think it's important for us to clarify to people. It actually ties into what I was going to come back to as it related to your son. And that's, how crippling does this affect anyone that it touches? Are they to the point where they're not able to function on their own? Or are there various stages of it, and maybe earlier on they can still be employed, they can still do their daily activity? The comment that I was going to reference earlier was, you mentioned, as a result of COVID, you had the no walking that came into play. And so I just wanted to share, how does this progress? And even at its severity, how has it prohibited the regular functions of those that it's affected?
Good question. So it starts out, the boys, they start out walking very differently, very unbalanced. Like a good telltale sign for my wife, Jamie, being a nurse, an RN, she noticed when Dominic was getting up off the ground at 2 and 3 years old, he had to spread his legs out wider. They call that gating. He's trying to get a wide gait to be able to get himself up for balance. He couldn't just get up the floor like you and I could, but he'd have to get out wider. And that's when she started to know something wasn't right. They misdiagnosed it the first time, and then the second time here in Colorado, they knew, Colorado knew right when we walked in the door. They knew what he had, but they wanted to run a test to find out. And so the progression goes, usually they'll walk between, normal walking age around 1 or 2, and they'll go until around they stop walking between 8 and 12, depending on the kids, the severity, there's different forms of muscular dystrophy. You have stop codon, which the boys have all 1 through 79 in their DNA, but the brain doesn't see their DNA line up. So that's called stop codon. What my boys have is called a single deletion. So in your DNA 1 through 79, my boys are missing 43. So there's like a hole there. It runs up to 1 through 42. It doesn't see 43. And that 44 to 79 is there, but that's the thing, they're trying to bridge that gap for a treatment or a cure. Then there's people that have duplicated multiple deletions where they could have 7 through 13 is not there. They're missing that, and it gets even technical from that. So the average age is they stop walking between 8 and 12. Then after that, they're in the chairs, and then mid to late teens, they're on breathing machines, and they pass away in their mid to late 20s. And with just families being more educated and more understanding about dieting and the food intake and activity, that they're seeing that these boys are lasting into their 30s now. So that's a positive sign, but that's work here at home. That's watching what they eat. It's creating a positive life for them. We people say that all the time. If you have a negative life, sometimes it can make you sick and do things, where if you have positive things inside, you feel better, you sleep better and eat better, you can live longer, and I think we're proving that in our community, that as long as we do a little bit more taking care of them with vitamins and things we try to find to make them healthier by all means, then they're living longer, and that's a positive sign. So that's the progression. They stop walking, they're on breathing machines, and then they're out. They ultimately, they say, the unfortunate thing, the last thing that goes for them is their smiles. That's the last muscle that goes, because it's a progressive muscle weakness. So the reason why I stopped walking so early is because they're constantly using their leg muscles, and what we've been told is after 8 years of age, you don't continue to regrow new muscle. Usually by the time you reach 8 years of age, that's the muscle you're going to have for the rest of your life, on how you're going to do it. But theirs progressively gets weak, get scar tissue, and they stop walking. And then the older boys in their 20s, late teens and 20s, they can't lift their arms up. Their arms just sit straight on the chair and they can't lift it up. You have to feed them, bring up their drink with the straw to get them to drink and things like that. And then at night, you have to change them, all that stuff, do all the bathroom things for them, brushing their teeth from. They can't do any of that stuff. And then at night, some of us, we take advantage of the little things like being able to roll over or bring a leg up or do kind of crazy stuff how we all sleep. Well, those boys can't. So they'll call you, or you'll hear them yelling in the middle of the night that they need to be changed. And you walk in there and they just want to be rolled over. So you got to reposition them and put all the pillows. And what the pillows are for is for pressure points, So things we take for advantage, they have to. Some kids have up to 13 pillows all between their bodies to keep them comfortable at night and to prevent bed sores and pressure sores that they sleep with.
Well, thank you for going in detail, Rich. I appreciated that as much as it was. It's hard to listen to and take in, and being from the outside, you don't really see and understand fully what's involved and how much parents are putting in and how much those kids are really fighting on their own as well. So, you mentioned the positivity. We actually had a comment that came through from our board chair about how amazingly positive and fun your group is. So it clearly is seen by the external, and I just wanted to show that so you can you can understand and see that people are seeing that the work that you're putting in is definitely reflected. Rella says, thank you all for what you all continue to do. And then, Parker mentioned that this is something that's very important to him. Thank you for answering his question. He was, he says, let me know how I can help. Well, Parker, I'll tell you how you can help. We displayed earlier the foundation's page, and that's romitofoundation.org. I've also included Amy's email. That's amy@Scudder.Press. That's available to you in the comment section. Amy is their executive director and can help route you in ways that you can support the organization and engage in any of their programs or events that they have. Given that COVID has changed things up, they're also changing with it. And so they're keeping the fluidity as much as they can and are actually hosting an event that'll be on the 29th over at Top Golf. The event details are actually on the westminsterchamber.biz page. We have that. And it's also on the Romito Foundation .org page as well. So find out more information about that event in the comments section. I can only imagine that with COVID, that's continued to hinder some of the primary functions of your foundation, because your purpose really was to help get them to those camps and get them to socially interact. And past that, it turned into really that support block for the caregivers for those parents. And so I know that it's probably hurting a strong part of what you guys are doing, but I'm glad to see that you're not letting that stop you in what you're doing. Because now more than ever, it's so important that we're out there to support people, especially as they're facing that they're in that environment 24/7 now. So thank you so much to both Rich and Amy for tuning in with us, for engaging in this dialogue and sharing a little bit, a glimpse of their foundation. It truly is a glimpse because there's so much more that they could have gone into. This is more of that 3,000-foot perspective in a 30-minute window that I've given them, with about 20 minutes outside of me eating up the start and the finish. So not much time. Needless to say, I so appreciate everybody that's hopped on with us. Those of you that end up watching this video on later after we are done going live, be sure to give us that hashtag replay or even comment so we know that you've tuned in, that you may have found this beneficial. Share this out and let people know that this is an organization that's out. They're servicing our entire state of Colorado. They got 40 families, and it's growing, unfortunately, because there's not really that cure for that, but we can at least give peace to the ones that are affected by it. So thank you for those that have tuned in. For those that do watch this, rewind and make sure that you watch it on replay. Share it out with folks that you might know. Now, most of you know that I do this on a daily basis, so I will be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. and tomorrow's discussion is from the law enforcement lens. We'll have with us Chief Carlson from the City of Westminster's Police Department to share about some of the newer efforts that they are implementing in their department, some things that they've had on their radars during COVID, and other fun programs that we are actually sponsoring and coordinating with them here over the next few weeks to support our business community during this time. I want to thank both Rich and Amy again for spending the morning with us. Do not pop off once I close this, but I appreciate you guys sharing your insights and hope that we can continue to move the needle on this and be a support block for you all as well.
Thank you, Juliet.
Thank you, Juliet, so much.